Have you ever tried releasing all your worries when you are walking through a forest? Walk slowly if you can. Nature will always be there for you. When the busy world overwhelms you, when you lose the ground under your feet, just feel the sun in your face. Feel the rain in your hair. Stand in a forest and close your eyes. Breathe the scented air. Touch a tree, its bark, leaves, roots. Listen to the bird's song, the wind, the silence.
Hi.
Hello, my friends. Have you ever heard of forest bathing? When you forest bathe, you surround yourself with nature. You delve deep into the sounds and sights, smells and feels of the woods. You can do forest bathing almost everywhere. In a park, a garden, a field, under a tree, next to a pond. And you can also come to Sweden, where the forests are never ending, and let your mind roam freely and undisturbed.
It's really warm and the sun is so bright today. I think Simba is wondering who I'm talking to. Hi everybody, hello, welcome back to my channel here on YouTube. My name is Eva. This is Simba. And we moved here 2 years ago to Sweden, to southern Sweden. We live here in a region called Småland. It's a very windy day today here in southern Sweden. It's the middle of October now here in Småland. And it's a very warm autumn day. I think it's here in the sun. It must be about 15 degrees Celsius, so pretty warm for autumn. And I thought I'd use the good sunlight, the very nice warm sun today, and tell you a bit more about the region where I, and Simba of course, where we live. The region here in southern Sweden is called Småland. Småland is Sweden's southernmost wilderness. And this region is called a wilderness because there are not a lot of people here, and the area is 74% forest. And it's a forest mostly untouched by humans. The forest here in Småland, about 1% of it is being cut down every year, but it grows back faster than it's been cut down. So actually there's always a lot of forest, and most of the forest is for years and years and years completely undisturbed by humans. You can, if you go into the Småland forest, you can walk and walk and walk for hours and days even without meeting another person, without crossing any bigger roads, without seeing houses or any signs of civilization mostly. Yeah, most of the houses here in this area are even only summer houses. So that means that only in summer people live there. So a big percentage of the houses around here, around this area, are in autumn, winter and spring not even inhabited. So nobody lives there most of the time. So although there are not many houses at all, there are even less people who actually live here in Småland. And this has been like this for forever. I have seen a map of the 17th century, and actually the civilized part of Sweden ended right at the border of Småland. So above or behind that border of Småland, no map had been drawn. There was no civilization, no roads, only robbers and people outside of the law living here. It was a wilderness since forever. It has always been a very untouched place, untouched by people, untouched by human developments, human civilization. I have taken notes on what I wanted to talk to you about. If you know a little bit about European geography, you will know that the northernmost part of Europe is this peninsula called Scandinavia, and Sweden is only one half of it. There's Norway and Sweden on this peninsula between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea. And when you enter this peninsula from Europe, from the main part of Europe, when you enter from the south, the southernmost part of this peninsula, the southernmost part of Sweden, you enter a region called Skåne. And this region belonged to Denmark for a long time. And this region is actually pretty different from the rest of Sweden because there are almost no forests, or much less forest than here, much less tree. There's a lot of fields there, a lot of agriculture. And when you travel from the south and you have crossed the southernmost part of Sweden, then you cross the border into Småland, and then you really dive into this forest that you won't leave. If you go by car, you won't leave this forest for hours and hours. I think in many regions of Europe, you have this countryside, you have villages, you have meadows and fields, and like inside of this countryside, you sometimes have forests, like little spots in this countryside. And here in Småland, I think it's the other way around. It's forest everywhere, and you have little spots of meadows and little villages and it's all surrounded by this one continuous, endless feeling forest. Here in Småland, you have even more forests than in the rest of Sweden, percentage-wise. So, as I said, 74% of Småland is covered in forest, and in total Sweden, in like, if you look at the whole country, there is 70% of forest in whole Sweden. So it's a pretty forest-heavy area here, even for Sweden. I think that's what I was drawn to when I moved here. I looked at Google Maps, the satellite view of Google Maps, and I saw this big green spot right there on the map, what was the forest of Småland. And I felt so drawn to it. And whenever I leave Småland just for a few hours, even if I go just to the Baltic Sea, for example, just to the coast, whenever I enter this forest again, I take a deep breath, almost unconsciously. I feel relieved whenever I get back into this forest here. The Swedish forest consists of a lot of pine trees, spruce trees, some oaks, some birch trees. I'm sitting right next to a beautiful birch tree. Or is it? No, I was wrong. It's actually a maple tree. I was wrong. But what makes the Småland forest so different from the forests I have visited before are the many rocks. You have those big and small rocks everywhere in these forests. Sometimes you can't see them because they're covered in moss. But yeah, almost all of the Småland landscape is actually just rocks and trees growing in between those rocks wherever they can. This rocky area makes Sweden pretty different from the rest of Europe. Sweden was covered for a long time by ice. So I'm sure you've heard of the Ice Age that had covered Sweden, Denmark, some parts of Europe also. But the ice, it stayed for a longer time in Sweden and Norway. And when it then finally melted and Sweden was ice-free again, that was pretty recently in geological terms. I think it was about 10,000 years ago, and the rest of Europe was ice-free for much longer time. And for most of Europe, the water of the clouds, rainwater, had a lot of many years to like smooth the country and smooth the landscape out. It flowed everywhere and just smoothed everything out. Here in Sweden, when the ice receded, it left many rocks, and the water didn't have time yet to actually just smooth the landscape like it had in the rest of Europe. So the water from rains and rivers and streams, that's the word, the water of rain and rivers and streams didn't have much time here to, actually smooth things out. So it's still kind of seeking its way between the rocks and like burying through the rocks, burying into the ground. But the water didn't make Sweden as smooth as the rest of Europe. So actually, Sweden is very hilly, you get a lot of height differences in between different areas. You have those rocks, and all of it is covered in the only thing that actually grows between those rocks, and that's trees and moss and blueberries and lingonberries and mushrooms, and that's about it. You have lakes, of course. All those valleys, or many of those valleys, are filled with water. So you have lakes, many, many lakes here in Småland. So if you enter a forest here in Småland, you will not find many people, but you will find everything else much bigger than you. So what I mean by that is, if you go into those forests, you will find those very big trees, you will find those very big rocks. You will find also blueberries, and the blueberry plant is not very big, but you will find so many of those plants that you will feel very small compared to just the sheer number of blueberry plants, the sheer amount of moss, the sheer amount of mushrooms. Everything in those woods is bigger than you, larger than you, more than you in a way. And you feel small in those woods, but in the best kind of way. Because everything there is so inviting and providing and soft. You don't feel unimportant. You may feel small, your worries may feel small, but you yourself, you as a person, you won't feel unnoticed by the forest. The forest will give you a sense of welcome and protection. I honestly don't want to leave those woods again. Of course, I have to. Of course, I will go visit my family. Of course, I will go traveling. Of course, I have to go to the bigger city sometimes. But I would be content just entering those forests and never exiting again. The last couple of days I've taken you with me into the forest here in Sweden. And yeah, in the next month, the forests will change. The leaves will all fall to the ground. There will be snow covering the grounds here in Sweden. And yeah, I want to continue taking you along on my travels, on my adventures through the forest here. And I continue sharing my days in the Swedish forest with you. I wish you a wonderful day. I wish you warm autumn weather. And I'll see you very soon. Bye. Bye bye.